Welcome back to the deep dive. We're continuing our mission to make the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure, the MPP, a bit more accessible, breaking it down section by section.
Right. Think of it as a guided tour through some pretty dense material.
Exactly. We're aiming to pull out the key facts, maybe some surprising details, whether you're studying this stuff, practicing patent law, or, just really interested in how it all works.
And today we're digging into Chapter 1800. That's the chapter all about the Patent Cooperation Treaty, or PCT.
It's a big topic, the PCT.
It really is. But we're focusing on one specific section today, MPP Section 1867.
Okay, 1867. The title is Preliminary Examination Fees. Sounds simple enough. Maybe just about paying money.
Well, yes and no. It is about fees, but as we'll see, it's got some pretty significant implications baked in. It's not just what you pay.
Ah, so the details matter. What does this section actually cover then?
It lays out the requirements for paying the fees for international preliminary examination. Critically, it covers the timing, the deadlines, and the consequences if you miss those deadlines.
And this is specifically when the USPTO is acting as the International Preliminary Examining Authority, the IPE.
Exactly. When the USPTO is the one doing that preliminary examination under the PCT, it might seem like just procedure, but messing this up can have some really big negative consequences.
Okay, let's get into it. So if an applicant wants this international preliminary examination, what fees are we actually talking about?
There are two main fees you absolutely need to pay. First, there's a handling fee. Second, there's a preliminary examination fee.
Two distinct fees, handling and preliminary examination. Are they paid together? Do they go to the same entity?
Good question. No, they actually go to different places, and it's helpful to understand why.
Okay.
The handling fee goes to the International Bureau, the IB. That's part of WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. Think of it as like the administrative fee for the whole international system.
Got it. IB gets the handling fee. But what about the preliminary examination fee?
That one goes to the office that's actually going to do the examination work, the International Preliminary Examining Authority, or IPEA.
So if we're talking about the USPTO being chosen as the IPEA,
then that preliminary examination fee goes directly to the USPTO. They're doing the work. They get the fee.
Makes sense. Handling fee to the IB, examination fee to the IPEA. Now, how does someone figure out how much to pay? Do these fees change often?
They definitely can change. And this is important. You need to pay the amount that's in effect on the actual day you make the payment.
Oh, right. Not when you filed the demand or something.
No, it's the date of payment that dictates the fee amount. So you can't just rely on an old fee schedule you might have lying around.
So where do you find the current correct amounts?
The USPTO publishes all the current fees, including these PCT-related ones, in its official Gazette. You really need to check the latest official Gazette publication before making a payment to be absolutely sure you've got the right numbers.
Okay, check the official Gazette for the fees effective on the payment date. Got it. Now, let's talk timing. You mentioned MPP Section 1867 really focuses on this. When do these fees need to be paid?
This is where things start to get very strict. The rule is that both the handling fee and the preliminary examination fee must be paid within the time limit set out in PCT Rule 57.3.
PCT Rule 57.3. Okay, so that's a specific rule within the broader PCT framework.
Exactly. It's part of the treaty regulations, and it sets a specific window for getting these fees paid after you file the demand for international preliminary examination.
Right, so there's an initial deadline. But what happens if someone, for whatever reason, misses it? Is it game over?
Not immediately. If the fees aren't paid on time, according to Rule 57.3, the applicant will get a notice.
A notice from the IPEA?
Yes, from the International Preliminary Examining Authority. The notice basically says, hey, you didn't pay, or you didn't pay the full amount.
Okay, a notice usually implies a chance to fix things. Is there like a grace period?
There is. The notice gives the applicant 1 additional month from the date the notice was issued to get the missing fees paid.
1 month? That seems... Okay, but you mentioned strictness.
Yes, and here's the really, really critical part. That 1 month window, it is absolutely strict. It cannot be extended, period.
Cannot be extended at all. That sounds pretty unusual for patent procedures, doesn't it? Usually there are ways to petition for extensions or excuse delays.
Not here. For this specific 1 month period to cure the fee deficiency, there are just no provisions in the rules to ask for more time. If you get that notice, you have exactly 1 month from the date on that notice to pay up.
Wow, so no wiggle room. That 1 month is a hard deadline.
A very hard deadline. You need to treat it as final.
Okay, that's a major takeaway. Now, if you do pay within that 1 month grace period, are there any other catches, like extra costs?
There are. If you're paying late, meaning within that 1 month window after the notice, you also have to pay a mandatory late payment fee.
Ah, okay, so paying late costs extra. Is it just a flat fee or...
It's not a flat fee. It's actually calculated based on the amount you failed to pay on time. There's a specific formula.
a formula for the late fee? Interesting. How does that work?
Okay, so you look at the total amount of the unpaid fees, that's the handling fee, plus the preliminary examination fee that you missed. The late fee is the greater of two possible calculated amounts.
The greater of two amounts. Okay, what are the two options we're comparing?
Option one is 50% half of the total unpaid fees. But there's a limit on this one.
A limit.
Yeah, that 50% amount cannot be more than twice the amount of the handling fee on its own.
Okay, so calculate half of what you owe, but cap it at double the handling fee amount. That's option one. What's option two?
Option two is simpler. It's just an amount equal to the handling fee itself.
I see. So you calculate option one, 50% of unpaid, capped at 2x handling fee, and compare it to option two, just the handling fee amount. Whichever number is bigger, that's the late fee you owe.
Exactly. And to do that calculation and pay the higher result in addition to the original fees you missed.
That's quite specific. It adds another layer of things to get right if you miss that first deadline.
It does. It's meant to be a real incentive to pay on time in the first place.
So we've got a non-extendable 1-month window and a calculated late fee. You hinted earlier, though, that the consequences could be even more severe than just paying extra. What's the worst that can happen here?
Right. This is probably the most critical thing to understand from Section 1867. If you fail to make the payment timely, and that means strictly timely, even within that 1-month window, even being off by a single day.
A single day?
Yes. It can have a potentially catastrophic effect on the whole preliminary examination request.
What happens?
The International Preliminary Examining Authority is allowed, under the rules, to simply declare that your demand for international preliminary examination is considered not to have been submitted.
Not to have been submitted. That sounds bad. Does that mean it's like you never even asked for the preliminary examination?
That's precisely what it means. The demand is essentially nullified, void, treated as if it never existed.
So the preliminary examination just doesn't happen.
Correct. It won't be carried out. And that's a huge potential loss because that examination can give you a valuable early opinion on patentability, which can be super helpful later on in the national phase. Losing that chance just because of a fee payment issue is, well, it's a major setback.
A huge setback. Wow. And the MPP gives a particularly sharp example of just how strict this timely payment is, right? Even within the grace period.
It does. It really drives the point home. Let's say you missed the first deadline, you got the notice, and now you're trying to pay within that 1-month grace period.
Okay.
Imagine you submit the payment, and it physically arrives at the IPEA on the exact same day that the IPEA issued the notice of non-compliance telling you that you missed the deadline.
Oh, wait, it arrives the same day the notice goes out? Is it still late?
Believe it or not, yes. The demand is still treated as ineffective, not submitted, unless...
Unless what?
Unless you can provide clear proof that your payment was actually submitted before the authority officially issued that notice on that very same day.
Whoa. That's incredibly strict. The burden is on the applicant to prove the time of submission relative to the time the notice was issued, even on the same calendar day.
Exactly. Proving that could be really difficult, depending on how you paid, what records you have, versus when they timestamp the notice issuance internally.
I can imagine mail arrival times, electronic submission timestamps versus internal processing. It sounds like a potential nightmare.
It really highlights why you cannot cut this close. If you end up needing that grace period, you need to pay well before the end of it and use a method where you get ironclad proof of the date and, as possible, time of receipt by the authority. Waiting until the last minute is just asking for trouble.
That same day example really makes the rule tangible. It's not just about the money getting there eventually. It's about the precise timing relative to the authority's actions. Administrative precision is absolutely key here.
It really is. And it speaks volumes about how seriously these procedural deadlines are taken throughout the patent system. They aren't just suggestions.
Okay, so that covers the main handling and preliminary examination fees. Are there any other fees someone might encounter during this preliminary examination phase?
Yes, it's possible. Additional fees can come up if the examiner, during the preliminary examination, decides that your application actually covers more than one distinct invention.
Ah, the unity of invention issue. So if they think you've got, say, two separate inventions claimed that aren't linked together properly under PCT rules.
That's the scenario. If you, the applicant, want the IPA to go ahead and examine those other inventions beyond the main one, you'll need to pay additional examination fees for each extra invention they look at.
Okay. And where do you find the rules or amounts for those additional fees?
The specifics are laid out in the U.S. regulations, specifically in 37 CFR 1.482.
37 CFR 1.482, that's part of the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations for the USPTO.
Correct. And just like the main fees, the actual dollar amounts for these additional invention fees are also published in the USPTO's weekly official Gazette. So again, you'd need to check the current fee schedule there.
Right. Always check the latest official Gazette. Okay, so let's quickly recap MPP Section 1867. You've got the handling fee and the preliminary examination fee due by the PCT Rule 57.3 deadline.
If you miss it, you get a notice and 1 month, a strict, non-extendable month to pay.
And if you pay in that month, you also owe a late fee, calculated as the greater of 50% of the unpaid fees, capped at twice the handling fee, or just the handling fee amount itself.
And the huge takeaway. Failure to pay strictly on time, even being slightly off within that grace period, as shown by that same-day example, can lead to your entire sailor. Demand for preliminary examination being treated as if it was never filed.
Plus, watch out for potential extra fees if unity of invention becomes an issue.
That pretty much sums up the core message of 1867. It really hammers home how vital it is to track deadlines and manage fee payments accurately in the PCT process if you want that international preliminary examination. Understanding these MPP details is crucial.
Absolutely. It shows how seemingly small procedural steps can have really significant impacts. Before we finish, we want to give a special shout out to Mike Shepard, the creative director behind this whole audio series. His work makes these deep dives into the MPP possible.
And our usual disclaimer. This summary was put together with the help of AI tools like ChatGPT and NotebookLM. It might have errors or leave things out. It's for general info and education only. It's absolutely not legal advice.
Please, for definitive guidance, always consult the official MPEP itself, talk to a qualified instructor, or get advice from a registered patent practitioner.
So thinking about that really strict timing, where even payment on the same day a notice is issued might be too late, it makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It leads to a final thought for you, our listeners. Considering how a single day, or even the timing within a day, can potentially nullify a PCT preliminary examination demand, where else in the whole patent process, prosecution, maintenance, litigation, might seemingly minor timing details or procedural steps have unexpectedly large consequences for an applicant's rights? Something to ponder about the critical nature of precision at every stage.